No, they're going on old.
Go ahead and sand the tip on my soldering iron here. Get that cleaned up. We're gonna apply some flux here. I'm using a different type of flux that I've
9.
used in the past. I'm gonna try this.
You shall not pass.
The contacts there. It should work. Let's see if I can apply some solder to your points here.
9.
I think I've got this so they're actually soldered to make it a little more sturdy. And maybe I'm looking for here to make sure I don't have any solder overlapping between these.
Yeah, I'll give you a hint.
Obviously short out.
I'll give you a hint. It's my name.
You can honestly plug this thing in and test it out.
Oh, let's go. Somebody's already in chat. Yo, what's good, Frosty?
Oh yeah, definitely needs some more.
Oh God, they can't hear you right now. I still have to set it up.
So if I get some hot glue and down on both sides, it should be good there.
Yes, it's on YouTube.
We'll plug it in and see if it works. Alright, should find out pretty quickly if this works. The fan should immediately come on.
Oh God, K9's online, I guess.
Oh, it's working. Okay. That was stupid of me. There you go.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, ultimately that was a pretty easy fix. Nonetheless, I don't satisfied to hardware work.
Yeah, he's online.
Let me go ahead and turn this bad boy off. Let's go ahead and
Your K9 is online. Yes, K9's online. I've been calling it. Look, my chat will tell you. My chat will tell you. I've been calling K9. If my chat will read. My chat's broken. Fix that.
I'm going to solve that on both sides here and see if that'll hold it down.
Okay, now it's not popping up there, but now it's popping up here. That's fine.
Originally, but
Yo, what are you doing, Beeman?
I will sell this PS5 on my website.
Yo, my voice cracked.
I understand it's not a fully, it's not like a full.
It's taking like it's low.
Now next up, we're gonna try to replace this ribbon cable here.
Alright, Frosty.
From this connector right there, all the way around the board right there, it makes the lights light up. So I think we should actually take off. We got that out of the way. I got the middle black part now. You can see the ribbon cable more clearly now. This part plugs into the motherboard. It goes around the outside, plugs into this cable right here. So this PCB. You can see it was just mutilated through this screw hole right there. What do you mean? It was also mutilated.
We're just working.
Somehow.
We're just working, chat.
Out of place basically, and then this was. So we'll take our new ribbon cable, run it around the outside, and see if it works. Now, one more thing to note here that's another issue.
My chat's so messed up, it works half the time, and if you move it, it just breaks.
See this PCB right here? Oh, it's unplugged. I only noticed that
Frosty?
when you take this piece off, it's usually not easy to take this piece off because it's straddled by this ribbon.
It's like Frosty.
And I noticed this ribbon cable is unplugged, and it actually matches up with some sensors I found on the PS5. Yeah. This portion of the front did not work, and it matches up. And so we're just going to get plugged in. All right, guys, before we have this ribbon cable plugged back in, this one plugged in, this one plugged in, so we'll walk into it. I have it straddled along the piece and plug it back into the motherboard. Putting the black back on right here. Alright, well, I should have scrapped the black piece for now. That is plugged in. I actually what? I didn't even turn on this. At least it's working. I mean, you got the same thing. You have a light. I'm gonna call it. I just call it clean fix, but it is a clean fix. It's not a clean now. Let me go ahead and just that's function properly. Well, despite the console turning on and lights working and fan working, the USB ports on the front are still not working. You can see when I plug it in, it doesn't charge up or anything.
There we go. Why is my chat working now?
Ports here, different cables, different controllers, and everything, and nothing's working. I'll try to turn this down a bit more to see what the issue is there. We also need a good Dremel now to clear this out a little bit so it'll actually
I said I smell like Elliot.
Make the situation sorted out. Basically, instead of a Dremel, I used an X-Acto knife and was able to actually pretty cleanly cut out a larger hole. That's all good.
I'm gonna turn that down. Here, I'm gonna start recording too. Okay. There we go. Now my chat. was trolling some people. Dude, before I was actually, alright. Before I was actually player tracking maze, it was pretty fun. There was like point kids player tracking maze, and I was like the lead. I was the lead one. I kept on fighting him. Yeah, he got scared. We did until his VR died. Hey, the only reason I did that is because he's saying thick of it. Retromonkes. Mine's Retromonkes. Yeah, that's all of us. Yo, what is my tracking doing? I don't know. What do you want? It's without the Y. 18 hours actually. I don't know why. Not really a big deal. It's going to plug in this. Yeah, what Dina is going to join. Alright, gonna drink that's plugged in since while I was up. My moderator in chat. And I just had this thought with me to pop up. Really, after playing. Yeah, that was one of the first things I found out. Well, it's just this part. It's just this part down here. They just add this. The rest of it. Oh, it should be Retromonkes D-Tag. Okay, we're going to say that it's on the color. We got some 2098. You can probably not like that. I don't know if it's 699. Oh no, it doesn't show up for some people. I'm not sideways. There we go. I swear, guys, I don't want to play more. For a video like this, let me know. Send me an email. Might be my kids, so guys, thanks for watching in. That's your natural habitat. When you think of the company's system, there's generally a few different categories of stuff that comes to mind. They've got great home console games. Just look at your Sonic, your 19. What is it then? Your Monkey Balls, your Jet Set Radio, all that good stuff. But then the games you might know them best for the console, like the Genesis and Dreamcast. And then dude, last night, most of us still know about. Dude, my first stream, I think it passed out on screen. They've made over 500 different games, and I can guarantee you. No, I actually passed out. That's why I just went AFK for like 2 years. Here's that. One of my friends is calling me. That have no similarity to anything you find in a movie. And sometimes they're just bog standard games, like in the Sega Triforce. Sega's never been known to shy away from just using off-the-shelf hardware like this in the arcade system. After all, Sega Miyagi and Shihiro were nothing more than certified Dreamcast and original Xbox. I went down to the Sega arcade machine because all of this bizarre hardware is so familiar yet extremely mysterious. There's just this whole world of hardware out there that the general public is never even supposed to think about, let alone get their head. Guys, I'll be right back. Man, just talking about it. I have to go show my friend I can mod in his game. Over the years, Sega has made all kinds of different platforms to power their arcade machines. And eventually, while we were looking all up, I came across this Sega guys. And this is where it got really interesting. And I think it's where you said it all about first doing Star Force Steel. This is a game which, to my understanding, is a virtual force racing betting card. And let me make this crystal clear. It's not a racing sim. Yo, hello. You don't get to race any race. All you do is bet on them. It's one of the single most. Guys, I'm gonna go show my friend I can mod in his game. I'll be back soon. Let me play you a quick ad for Star Wars Sports, so you can see just how Sega themselves markets this thing. It's a fan game. But he dared me to try and mod it. I don't want to play on PC. You'd know because it would say Steam Link rather than Gorilla Tag. I'll be back sometime soon. Monster Hunter 5. Alright, guys.
Damn, I desperately want to fly Japanese first class now. And I guess there's also like some fantasy aspects to this game as well.
Yeah, by the way,
that I've seen, like
please do not change the version for the app. Just in case people want like an older version for like Christmas and stuff. Not really not. I'm also kind of live streaming right now, so
I don't know.
My chat's a little
Probably
broken.
most bizarrely on the official Star Wars 4 YouTube channel, there's a ton of videos in this super wide aspect ratio. They always feature random anime girls doing your typical wife and thirst trap shit. Sometimes they're schoolgirls, and I admit this one is kind of.
Also, I hope you know I have your photos.
Sometimes they're actually the ones that are racing instead of the horses for some reason. And you know what? Fuck it. This is Star Wars 4. Sometimes they are the horses. Also, this is a game that you could theoretically go play in Japan right now. It's still active.
Hey, you're the one that dared me to do it.
Channel was 2 days ago at the time that I'm writing it. So now that I've put you through the discovery,
okay, well that's permission. So
let me bring it all back to the Sega Alls. You've probably figured out at
So,
this point that the Sega Alls is the machine that powers Star Wars 4. There's actually 2 different versions of Star Wars 4 and 2 different machines that run each version. There's the main machine, which is higher powered, and it runs the main Star Wars 4 server, which powers the overhead display where you actually see the races taking place. And then there's the client or satellite machines, as they're referred to, which I believe, and I could be wrong here, run the terminals that you actually interact with. This is just my best guess.
All right,
comment if you can either confirm or correct me on any of this. And looking closer at the terminals that you can interact with, you can see that you do so using a computer mouse.
It's more like my
thing here. I wonder if the game with the computer mouse might be powered by a computer.
No, I said I only own one cosmetic.
The game might be similar to a gaming computer. And come to think of it, I know of a
you
place
did. It's just I'm on a different game
and
where
$418 later.
I'm still in the Christmas update.
I now own a piece of Star Wars 4 history.
Yeah, it should. Yeah, since you haven't changed the versions yet, the code
this
should
model
still
that
work.
I've got here is one of the
You're still using the same photon, right?
Kind of the lower power version of the 2,
yeah,
but it's also not really. I guess some have better CPUs but worse graphics, and some have better graphics but worse CPUs. This is the better CPU, worse graphics model. And while sadly I can't play Star Wars 4 at home since these machines require authentication to start up, I can at least take this thing apart and see what's inside and then see if I can repurpose it as a sick gaming PC. Something that I'm no stranger to if you've watched my channel before. So let's get into it.
Give me my controller tracking back.
So here it is. This is my Sega Alls. Honestly, that branding is very frustrating. Almost as bad as the Toyota is. It's not much of a looker. Taking up any plastic panels or anything. That's just how this thing comes. We've got some kind of fan panel there. There might not even be a fan back there. I don't know. It's hard to see. I haven't even opened this thing up yet. You guys know as much as I do at this point. This is what I presume to be the faceplate, and I think there might be a fan behind there as well, but again, it's hard to tell. But obviously, these things are meant to be shoved inside of arcade cabinets. No one's supposed
to. Let's try and go to the OG
version,
like the newest version, and try and pass it out.
We got a key chip port, which looks like a standard.
Well, plug it in.
That doesn't cause issues down the line.
Oh, then it's going to die.
I
think that's pretty obvious.
A whole lot of
I may not also have the literal Discord app on my phone. Not on my phone.
The research that I've done, a very, very itty bitty bit of research.
Oh my god, who's texting?
This is more than likely an NVIDIA 10 series GPU. It could be up to a 1070. They made a bunch of different versions of the Alls system. This is just one spec of it. So it's going to be a bit of a surprise. You might be able to tell with like the serial number, but I wasn't able to find a reliable way to figure it out. I'm pretty sure also the CPU is going to be anywhere from like a 6th gen to a 9th gen i5 or i7. Without further ado, let's go ahead and open it up. Like I said earlier, I haven't gotten into this thing yet.
We all know you would.
It's just been sitting in my apartment for like 2 weeks now. And it's just been staring me down with its stupid little Sega face flip.
You nigga we got.
What is this? Thanks, but I did not win a free station.
I said Riz at all.
I appreciate it though. Anyway, I don't even know what the plan is for this thing, really. My hope is that I can boot it up and it'll actually go into something like the arcade game.
You have less Riz than me, I know that.
Or whatever that was. 1, 2.
You're gay?
And it was like this black man who looked like he was like 40 years
1, 2, 3, 4,
old. And he added me on Discord. And he asked me.
I'm going to come in at this thing with a $400 lens. Like, what the specs are going to be for this thing? Was it worth the money?
He's like, oh yes,
probably no.
And I'm like,
It's
oh,
not ready. Wait, no, there's 2 more screws? Oh my god, there's more screws.
put your hands in your pants and try
I don't know. I feel like there's an eye fixing guy on this thing. This side doesn't want to budge. Okay. Well, there's a screw that doesn't look like it matters here, but I'll take it out anyway.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, yep, that was it. Your first look at this amusement.
You would. And we all know it.
Yeah, you do.
Sure is a crappy computer. Man, this reminds me of some of those bullshit brands like DIY PC or whatever.
I still have to reinstall it because I was just on Real Girl at that.
Custom PC, where every single part was approximately $5.
Stupid
At least that's what this
DK.
power supply's telling me. Okay, well, let's just kind of start poking and prodding at this thing, I guess. So here's that weird USB port that says this key chip on it. It's literally just a USB port. These 4 wires here are indicative of regular USB. So that's
I gotta open the app for a minute.
Or I take this thing apart. On the off chance that I do screw something up in here. And now that I say it out loud, it's probably a little more than an off chance. So in the event that something gets screwed up here, I would be really upset if I wasn't able to boot into this and see what it's like.
More like Vinny.
Like, what does this boot into? I don't know. And I don't want to screw up SSD or screw up something in
Dude,
here.
it's literally your shoulder.
So we're going to constantly disassembling it, and I'm going to go ahead and turn this thing on. We'll see what happens.
Yo, wait a minute. How does still? Wait a minute. It still has my real Gorilla Tag color. What the fuck? I'm in tutorial and I have my real Gorilla Tag color. What the fuck? Wait, if you figured out how to like connect your real Gorilla Tag servers to your game, you become so famous.
Okay. Well, that's not good. At least I don't have to worry about
It's not my custom information, that's my Gorilla Tag information.
Oh, what the heck? Hold on. I just turned it off and on again and now it's fine.
It's like, go.
Oh, okay, so we got a
Now
window.
that open is,
And I don't have
and I have confirmed, I have all the same coordinates I did before. Even still,
Ooh, Lulz MX.
I'm going to go past the game.
I wonder what that says.
Yep.
Hold on, let me use like Google Translate app. It just says starting up. I'm not very confident that this thing is going to be able to boot into anything. A system that's this new, I imagine, has to. Okay, so it's finally changed.
Hey, my mom.
Error 0001. First possible error. I feel so honored. Okay, let's see what this says. Key chip not found. Press the service button to display how to deal with it. Where's the service
Okay,
button?
what's your lowest grade then?
I mean, even if I found the service button at this point, I don't think it would make much of a difference considering I don't have the key chip. So I think that's as far as Star Wars 4 is going to get. There may be some way to get around this. If anybody knows, let me know. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out this SSD.
Like, what's the
I'm not gonna do
percentage?
anything to it. I'm going to just leave it as it is. So maybe later on, if someone figures out a way.
That's it? Mine's like negative 99.
Maybe I can make a video about that.
It's actually like
Let's get me with the teardown there. Oh man, where should I even
0.84,
start?
that's
So it does
it.
look like there is a fan.
I'm not even joking. I have 0.01. I haven't done anything. I still got a point. Sorry, 1/100th of a point.
So let me get this break. The color of the motherboard down there.
What
this is
schoolwork?
looking a lot like it might be a gigabyte board. In like 2nd through 4th gen Intel gigabyte has a lot of boards that were that kind of solder mask color. So I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. Intel technically also made their boards in that kind of solder mask as well.
What's schoolwork? I've never heard of it.
That would be very weird. Okay, so
Dude,
SSD,
I haven't brought my backpack to school in like 2 years. I may or may not also have like 15 mod menus. No, just in general. Let's see, we got Wii menu, Unity client, Troll Plays, Trolling DLL, Secret Service, Reflex, Not Rat, Long Arm Speeded, II Stupid, HUD Buds, COVID client, DZ's client, Not Rat, we don't talk about that. BSU's client VA, Bark, and Atomic client.
So those literally are just regular run-of-the-mill serial.
How many do you have? Probably like 2. Dude is not 20. Alright, then name them.
But I have no idea. I'm not starting those for retailers. But anyway, let's get this graphics card out. I'm excited to see this. It really doesn't get any more bog standard PC.
You mean stupid menu?
Anything special so far is the PS port, which that's not even special. It's just a USB port. All right.
We'll start capping.
So this is a.
Alright, I'm still minding this kid's game right now.
Unbranded Wacky Boy. What the heck is that? Look, it's got like shields on it and no stickers.
Let's see.
What is this thing? This might just be some like Japanese card that's like really common in Japan. But I have never seen a cooler that looks like this. There's a manufacture date here of July 23rd, 2019. I don't remember exactly how that would date this thing, but I don't think I really need to do much research into that. It's right along the side here. There's our smoking gun, 1060.
Oh, yeah, I gotta go reopen
it. So that's sad, but still wacky. I'm sure this is the only 1060 of this variant in the entire United States, and I own it. Pretty wacky, pretty wacky, pretty wacky. Okay, we'll put that to the side and keep disassembling the rest of this thing. Son of a bitch. Oh, there we go. All right, after removing that, this thing looks a hell of a lot more like a normal PC now. And I was correct in my prediction that this thing was a gigabyte board. Is the MCH31AM. And from what I can Google here, I found one on the official Gigabyte website, but they're categorizing it as a different product. They're calling it the H310A, and the I/O is complete. Well, I/O is not completely different. It's exactly the same, minus the DVI and the VGA port. So I'm guessing this is the closest like consumer cousin to this thing. Yeah, you can actually even see right here. This is where the DVI and the VGA would have gone. Okay, so the Micro ATX H310A type board. Unfortunately, we got scammed and didn't get the M.2 version. You can see the pins where it would be right here. But that's all right. You know what they say about SATA anyway. What do they say about SATA? Anyway, let's take a look at the most dedotated of Wham. Oh, it's InnoDisk. So assuming these are the same, it's 16 gig kit of 2 8GB DDR4 sticks running at 2666. Not exactly Speed Racer DIMMs, but you know what? They will do. They're probably just unearthed like 4 years worth of dust too, and I'm sure I'll have to reseat that. But other than that, I mean, it's kind of it. Oh, I guess we don't know what the CPU is yet. I'm going to leave the cooler on there. We'll build the suspense up. We'll find out what the CPU is in the BIOS or something. I do want to know how big this power supply is, though. This guy doesn't really want to come out, but through the magic of looking under it, I can tell you that it's a 500 watt power supply. Wait, who's it by? It's manufactured by FSP, model number FSP 500-50AAC. There you go, documented. That's nice to see that they didn't put the typical like Dell or HP spec 180 watt power supply in here. For even whatever CPU's in here, I don't think this thing probably needs a 500 watt power supply. It might come close, but probably overspec, at least a little bit. And I know I said I wasn't going to remove the SSD, but I did get curious as to what model and brand SSD this is, so I want to find that out. It's a, what? It's a GS1 120 gigabyte, 6 gigabit SATA SSD by TDK. How very OEM. All right then. Also, the fan is SAN Ace 120, if you were curious. It's cooler as your mom's. That's pretty much it for the parts. So we'll go ahead and put this thing back together. You know, with like a 3D printed like hard drive mounting rail area, you could probably turn this thing into kind of a decent little NAS or something. Like if you nixed this entire cover and you just found a way to mount like 6 or 8 hard drives in here, can't forget to plug back in the ever important heat ship port, but not before I thread it back through the ever important other thing. Round 2. Fight. Look, I took it apart when it was flipped 180 degrees, so this is, my mind can't handle this. I'm doing my best. I'm not even gonna bother looping this SATA cable back through that thing. Greatest Fritos wins for a second time. Oh, that was spooky. Luckily, this whole thing uses like 2 sizes of screws, and one of them is entirely for the power supply and nothing else. All right, they're all put back together. I'm going to grace it with this 1 terabyte Samsung SSD. And because I think it'll be interesting to see the thermals on this thing, because it only has 1 fan, I'm also going to put the lid back on. Now that we've got our mad JDM Sega computer back together, let's play some games. Actually, no. Can't get too ahead of myself again. We still don't know what CPU is in this thing. Let's find that out. You know, another weird quirk about this thing is that it doesn't have a power button. You hit the switch on the power supply and it just starts up. Oh, that is not good. That is really not good. Now I kind of regret putting this whole thing back together, because if we're lucky, there will be a jumper that we can pull and then replace, and it will get rid of the BIOS password. And if we're unlucky, then well, this video is about to become very painfully a British Studio video. So let me get back to the motherboard then. I'm not seeing anything right off the bat that just screams BIOS password jumper to me. Okay, this is a manual for a very similar motherboard to this one, and there should be a way to clear the BIOS password just by doing a normal CMOS clear, from what I can read. I also found it really funny that it says, use a metal object like a screwdriver to touch the 2 pins for a few seconds. Like, it doesn't tell you to use a jumper or anything. It just says, just touch it with a screwdriver. You know, that's fine. I mean, that's what I'm going to do anyway, but you're not supposed to tell me to do that. So this is very unfortunate. I found it, but there are no pins in there, just pads. So the first thing I'm going to try is to just pull the battery for a little bit and hope that does it. That's like the old school way. But I may need to like solder some wire there if I can't get something to like short it properly. I am going to try to just press the screwdriver against the 2 pins, but that doesn't always work. Battery's out. I'm going to give it like 10 minutes and hopefully the password is gone. Okay, it's been about 10 minutes. Let's see what happens. Okay, it just turned itself off. And back on again.
Alright, chat's just going to be broken.
Oh god. Okay, now 2 minutes of setup. Ah, damn it. Still need a password. I'm going to try the second option, which I did not want to have to do, and poke those solder pads. I suppose we don't really need to get into the BIOS. We need to get into the boot menu. Okay, maybe not. All right, here's the plan. While we can't get into the BIOS, we don't necessarily need to, because this thing will have a BIOS order already set up. Obviously, it wants to boot a SATA drive, because that's what it does by default with this one. What I want to find out, though, is if before it wants to boot a SATA drive, it wants to boot a flash drive, because then I can have the SSD connected, and then have my Windows installer, and it'll boot to the Windows installer. We can install Windows. There you go. And even if that's not the case, if I have to, I can preload the SSD with Windows. So we've got options no matter what. But this one's the easiest, so let's see if this works. Okay, so it does not seem to want to boot the flash drive. That's fine. Annoying, but fine. And the way that we're going to be pre-installing Windows on this SSD is not the way I thought I was going to be doing it, because it didn't work. So the way we are going to be doing it is with this piece of shit. Only purpose that this computer serves is to read the Windows installer and then install Windows to the SSD, so then we can take the SSD and move it back to the Sega PC. There's undoubtedly a better way to do this, but you know how it'd be on this channel. All right, Windows, install. My original plan was to just install Windows in a VM and then mount the virtual hard drive and then clone it to this drive. But it was giving me issues mounting the virtual drive, so this worked. All right, installation is finished. Time to see what this bad boy can do. Oh man, it still wants the password. That's not good. Okay, that's really weird. It should just boot this thing. Oh, I also realized that we're somehow getting video out despite the GPU power cable not being plugged in. That is weird. Okay, I do have one idea. This system either wants to boot up in legacy BIOS or EFI mode, and I don't know which one. And the PC that I used to install Windows onto this drive might have installed it in the opposite boot type. So I'm going to change that other computer to the other boot type that it's not currently set to, and then reinstall Windows, and then see if we'll be good to go. Okay, according to the HP shitbox, legacy boot is enabled and EFI boot is disabled. So we must have installed Windows under legacy boot. Now I'm going to switch this over and do it under UEFI. Okay, third time's the charm, or fourth time, or fifth, or what are we even on at this point? Hey, there we go, that did it. Okay, so this thing can only boot over EFI unless you can get into the BIOS and change it. I really, really do want to get into the BIOS of this thing, but for the scope of this video and with the current knowledge I have with hacking BIOSes, which is absolutely nothing, I don't think we're going to be able to do that. If you do know how to get into a BIOS like that, or you know how to like dump the BIOS chip and then get the password or something like that, that would be invaluable information to me because I do want to do more stuff with this machine, but I feel like I'm going to be very limited with that BIOS. I've got a bunch of Arduinos and I've got a bunch of Raspberry Pis, and I know you can kind of sort of do something with those regarding dumping BIOS chips. So if you know something about figuring all that out,
Currently playing a fan game replacing Gorilla Tag.
the best way to chat about that's going to be on my Discord, so see the description for that.
We
In
were.
case you guys didn't see it in my 1x player video, I'm going to show you a cool trick. If you don't want to sign into Windows, just do this. No at thankyou.com.
Secret Service
username,
password, sure.
anything as the password for your Microsoft login, and then it errors out, and then you get to make a local. That's what I'm talking about.
Were you in Yeeps earlier?
No. Oh, it installed Windows 10 Home? Why did it install Home? Time for the big reveal. What CPU is in the Sega
I have
PC?
no idea.
It's an i5 8500.
By the way, I
what?
made my own
I'm about to
service.
say it.
It's
I'm okay
weird
with that.
open up.
That's exactly not bad. Because I was expecting
Yeah,
like
you can make your own map.
like an i5
But it's just like with
The
large.
fact that we're getting something that's 8th gen, that means that we've got 6 cores now, which is a good bit better than a 6th gen. So I'm happy with that. And it definitely looks like we don't have a GPU driver, so let's go ahead and get that.
Let's see if I can get
God,
this thing
Microsoft, please stop. It's never enough for you. No, stop. Stay up to date by regularly bringing in your browsing data. What does that mean?
Yeah,
bringing it where? Oh no, this happened to me the other day
Technically,
on
yes.
my main editing workstation. I was just using my computer one day.
Where are
And then
you?
all of a
Like,
sudden, I opened
right
up
now?
Edge, and the only reason I used Edge at all is because I use YouTube Music to listen to music.
you see like the little
sometimes.
like
YouTube gets
brush
really
tree
weird when you have
domain
one
thing?
YouTube account signed in on one window and then another YouTube account signed in on a different window. Because I've got Bringus
It's
Studios
like,
signed in on one window and I've got my personal
you go in there and
account
you
on
type
another, and it
in,
was just not happening. Freaking
pretty
out.
sure they're
So
in
I was
free
like,
zone.
okay, well, I have an
Fred
Edge here, I
zone.
might as well just use Edge. So I have Edge signed into my personal account and then Chrome signed into Bringus Studios account. That way they don't like each other. And one day, I was opening Edge and I go to listen to some music, and the entire bookmarks
Go
are
out to like
on Edge, full of the bookmarks that I use in Google Chrome.
to get.
The browsing history on Edge was
Wait, Holly Jolly's in there?
on Google Chrome. That was so terrifying that I booted into a live copy of Ubuntu and deleted all the program files for Edge because you can't do it from Windows Explorer. It doesn't let you. And then I went back into Windows and denied the system from writing to that folder ever again. I don't like that. I do not like that at all. However, Edge is literally malware, so as you can see, it's still installed on my main PC, and I can't figure out how to get rid of it.
That's a
You know how to like
keyboard
permanently
thing.
disable
Where
Edge?
you type
Please
in.
let me know. I think it's literally no. Anyway, you've probably been
So
wondering.
go to like the gated area.
Why are you using Windows? This isn't your thing. Use Steam OS. And
Yeah,
let
there's
me
like
show
a
you
there's like a
guys
giant
why
bushy
we're
thing.
Windows. The reason I would always install Steam
Like a tree.
OS is because
Yeah, it's like a
I use
hill,
the
but like a
Steam
tree at the
interface
same
on
time.
PC. But for the last few months now, there's been an update.
Now go to
Steam
Code
that
Freaks.
makes sure-
I'm pretty sure that's
I'll
what
show you guys
boxing
here.
they are.
Literally exactly the same thing. You can even see it trying to tell me to press the Steam button. So the
No,
deck
not-
UI
not-
is
don't go to
entirely
tutorial.
here in Windows now. So
Not
it just
that.
feels a
You
little
went the wrong
silly
way.
to try and still install the Steam Deck OS at this point. I don't know. I mean, it's a lot of fun
Dude,
because I get to
You're
like
going the complete wrong way.
suffer. But other than that, I mean, this is always the end goal I would try and get to, and it's already here in Windows now. So, but this seems like a much
I'm not
easier
going
means
home.
to the end.
Where are these
Oh
guys?
my god.
Are they
Don't
just
worry, we're
saying?
not without bugs. Because we're in Windows doesn't mean that things are working.
Yeah, go down the hill.
Very not happy. Actually, let's see how our driver installation.
Tell you, you know, like the house thing.
It's the 6 gig model, which is good. I was really worried it's going to be 3 gig. Okay, cool. So that's something.
Most epic
it's,
voice crack ever.
The GPU. It's not killer, but it's there. I'm gonna restart and hope that it fixes our
Here, let me see.
issue.
Am I in the lobby with you now?
You thought. What is this? Chat with me about password tips?
Yeah, you're here.
I know I just had a whole spiel there.
Go to the leaderboard.
Use Windows now. But Windows is being awfully
right
Windows,
here.
and it really makes me.
Over here.
Oh.
Yeah, I know where you were.
Alright,
Here.
so I'm gonna get some games
Is it
installed.
in here?
We'll come back and see
No,
if
they're
this
not.
thing is
Here, go cut Fritzo. That's not your name.
Alright, let's see how this piece of Jack's cultural history handles gaming at 10.
That's the code.
First up is a CSGO bot match at high settings. I may as well have just been running Half-Life because this living legend stays at FPS most of the time with no issues at all.
Yeah.
Unless there are a bunch of dudes on the screen, then it drops to a far less playable 199 FPS.
Now you walk over. No, stop.
I take everything I said back. Our GPU core is working its ass off here at almost 100%
go back to the
usage,
computer thing. There's
while
a
the
portal.
memory's just kind of chilling around 2.5 gigs out of the 6 it's capable of. Living up to only 2/5 of our potential is something that the 1060 and I have in common. The temperature on the GPU is also nice and low, settling in at under 60 degrees Celsius. A result undoubtedly gained thanks to the heat shields on the front. Ignore the 1.1% lows, they're broken right now. Next up, we have Half-Life Buttlift version Black Mesa with high settings again. This game runs pretty well on the all, averaging around 170 to 200 FPS. Except when there's physics shit flying everywhere, like in this room, then it drops to a measly 120 FPS. Does measly imply that something is like measles-ridden? That's kind of gross and fucked up. I've never actually thought about it until now.
Monkey!
The CPU is maxed out at 100% usage again, and
It's
this is supposed to be a 120-watt card, but it barely ever ends up above 103-ish watts on here. Not sure why.
No, don't donate it. It was the free
anxiety.
This
particular version of the 1060
This is codes and
lower
their
for
server.
longevity or something.
As you can see,
maybe it's just a shitty
it's their
card.
server.
I'll explain more about this specific variant of the 1060.
How dare you take me off? You took me off the world staff.
That's another walk in the park for the second.
Alright, I'm going over here.
As high as 300 FPS, but an average of more like the mid 200s. Man, this thing is having no issues at all with all my regular low-end test suite of games. So let's start pushing it a little bit harder. We'll start with GTA 5.
What's this?
I didn't want to let the alls off easy, so I cranked every single setting as high as it would go for maximum GPU suffering. And let me tell you, it sure is still running great. What the heck?
I guess you just choose up whatever you get
from the stage, still keeping up this well.
Hey, you want to go to my code? I don't have any room like this, but
this is the 1080p, but that's still the most common resolution in the Steam hardware survey, and especially for this.
I'm gonna see if Blue's online.
Man, what a great little card this is.
I'm gonna see if Blue
now, it does seem like that the CPU has been kind of taking the week off. All right, well then let's see if we can put this i5 to work in Red Dead Redemption 2, which I am cranking entirely to ultra settings, kind of just because I want to see something in here break. And what happened was exactly that, but unfortunately not in the fun magic smoke releasing kind of way. It's crashing during the first cutscene. Cool, huh? Taking it back down to a more reasonable balance preset, I could finally get in game, is what I would say if it didn't crash in the same spot again. It didn't look like I was overutilizing my system memory or my video memory, and the CPU was just kind of hanging out at 40% usage. So I'm just going to take the settings all the way down to the lowest preset and then hope for the best.
91
Guess
days.
what? It crashed again. The only way it will get past this intro cutscene is to set the graphics API to DirectX 12 instead of Vulkan. So I did that, and then since I don't learn anything, I also set it all back to Ultra, and mid 40s FPS, baby. I've never been so happy to see such dark strip performance. Finally, a game that this 1060 has to work for. The frame times are all over the place compared to the other games so far, but it doesn't really affect the experience all that much. After a while, things did tend to smooth out, and it wasn't too bad. But one thing still bothers me about this thing. The CPU is still being underutilized. Red Dead Redemption 2 got this thing's blood pumping a little bit, but in search of giving it total heart failure, I'm going to have to turn to emulation. I booted up Yuzu, a Nintendo Switch emulator, and honestly, the only thing of note here are these shitty frame times. That and some complimentary 1% lows. Both the CPU and the GPU are bored out of their minds here for the most part. The whole system is drawing like 60 watts. This is performing insultingly well. Also, for no discernible reason, the capture cut off the top of the screen and it put it at the bottom. It's a little trippy. Looking to hurt this thing a little bit harder, I ran Xenia, an Xbox 360 emulator, and finally, I got what I came for. Look at it. It's beautiful. The GPU is shitting in its hands and it's smearing it all over the screen. But that stupid, sexy i5-8500 is refusing to go down without a fight. I am getting 100% utilization if it kills me. So I'm turning to a place where everyone goes in times of need. The PlayStation 3. RPCS 3 and Grid 2 are going to be my salvation, goddammit. And the CPU, I am glad to announce, has gotten off its lazy ass. And it is working for this one. 100% of glorious utilization. And it even runs the game pretty well. I think this game is locked at 30 FPS. As a victory lap, I booted up PlayStation All-Stars, and this actually doesn't hit the CPU as hard as I expected, but it still gets pretty excited. Also, this CPU cooler has been horrendously noisy the entire time. Listen to this thing. It's the CPU cooler equivalent of asking for the manager. So now we have to answer the question, was this thing worth the $418 that I spent on it? To answer that question, I put together a list of components that you could buy to build essentially the exact same computer. This list has brand new parts for everything except for the motherboard, CPU, and GPU, which are all out of production, and this is what I came up with. We've got the cheapest 1060 6GB on eBay that hasn't been mined on, or at least this seller didn't admit to it in the description, for $87. We've got the cheapest i5-8500 on eBay for $65. The cheapest Gigabyte H310M motherboard on eBay for $55. 2 sticks of 8GB DDR4, which also happened to be a little bit faster than what's in the alls, but it was still really cheap, so that's going to be $27. A 120GB SATA SSD from AData for $10. The cheapest 500-watt power supply that I could find new from a reputable brand, and it happened to be this EVGA unit, which is going to be $55. This piece of shit Rosewell case for $40. This equally shit CPU cooler for $9, and this 3-pack of SATA cables for $6. And the $418 price tag of the Sega Alls includes what I paid with tax. So if I add the tax onto the total of all these components, it comes out to $390. I am amazed. For a very comparable price to building the exact same spec PC yourself, you can order a Sega Alls on eBay and have it shipped to your door from Japan.
See my room,
All
I
you have to
know.
do is work around the worst.
That's sad. Well, I'm ending stream.
Spec lottery and hope that you
I'm
get a
ending
good
stream.
one.
That's kind of sad.
Also, I couldn't
You guys got
find anything
forgotten.
about this variant of the 1060.
Here,
The only
look
place
at my
it turns up when you look at the model
notifications.
numbers are on Yahoo Auctions and then a bunch of other weird, bizarre websites, and none of them list the brand either. So that makes me pretty confident that I am really the
Look
only
good, my
person in the
dog
entire
freaking
US
bled all over my
CPU.
bed.
As the holder of
You weren't supposed to see this.
Now
I'm turning into a furry.
Is this what
Yo!
cryptic
Conqueror of Celsius.
Alright, bye bye.